A couple of things. I know that the family engagement subcommittee met earlier tonight and heard on the issue of IEP development. The plan right now is for that subcommittee to take some time, consider some of the issues that are involved with it. Many of you should have received the email or through the email, the questions, the answers to the questions that were asked following the last meeting. I want to make sure that members know that the plan right now is that in November, we will bring forward a report to the full committee on that subject and have the full committee consider action on that matter to forward onto the division on this particular subject. If you have some input or some issue that you are interested in seeing addressed within that, please see myself, Holly Stearns, who is one of the co-chairs. Holly, if you raise your hand, just so everyone knows onto that. Or you can contact any of the member of the executive committee and we can make sure to relay your concerns to that particular subcommittee. Our plan is to, again, pass something in the November meeting. And so, but we want to make sure that members have plenty of time to provide some thoughtful consideration on this based on the answers that were given to us, the input was provided today, and their own personal thoughts as they kind of go through onto it. We don't want to rush through onto this. There are a couple of other items that will be coming up. We have a couple of events that will be happening that we'll address those during member time. And we have a couple of members that I know that are online today that are dealing with some challenges associated with COVID, and we certainly wish them well and hope that they have a speedy recovery from that. I would also remind members that we are under subject with the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, that at any time they could lift the state of emergency that we are operating within. If that does happen, we will no longer have a virtual option for our meetings. And so we appreciate seeing you all here, but if that does happen, we could be returning to all in person very quickly to that end. So just keep that in mind. That's all that I had. The next item on the agenda is public comment. And for that, I'm going to recognize our distinguished vice chair, Ms. Elizabeth Zielinski. Liz, how are you this evening?
Well, Harry, funny you should ask. I'm one of the people who has issues related to COVID, and the issue is I had a positive test just earlier today, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to rely on some folks in the room if we have folks that are in the room that have signed up for public comment. But I'm going to start with one that was submitted in advance in writing. As usual, without objection, I want it noted for the record that because this was submitted in writing, and I'll be reading it aloud, if there's any discrepancy between the way that I read it and what was actually written, the one that was written is the one that will be preserved for the record. So this particular public comment was submitted by Caroline Newman, and she writes, excuse me, I am writing to express a concern and offer commentary on the implementation of the CPS approach after the Ross Green training provided to the elementary comprehensive services sites last school year. I am aware that 2 weeks ago, it was reported that all elementary CSS sites have fully implemented the CPS model. In my son's elementary CSS, this model has not been implemented at all. In October of 2021, my son's base school began to consider a CSS placement to address his increasing needs in the classroom. I was given the contact information for the local elementary school CSS site and scheduled a meeting with the crisis support teacher to discuss the philosophy of the program. I had follow-up discussions with the principal of the school, and after a tour, we transitioned into the CSS program in the second quarter. During the initial conversations and the tour, I had inquired routinely about the Ross Green training I knew the staff was receiving, and asked routinely in writing and verbally about the timeline of implementation of this new program. During the entire school year last year, I received feedback from the school staff and principal that training was ongoing. As soon as the school year ended last year, I had another email exchange with the crisis support teacher who indicated that she did not know who would train the rest of the staff and did not have information on when the CPS system would be in place. Before the beginning of the school year this fall of 2022, I inquired again directly with the principal about whether the new CPS approach would be used at the beginning of this school year. The principal indicated that the school was not done with training. At 2 follow-up meetings in September and October, the principal reported to me that he did not feel adequately trained to train the staff to make the transition to the CPS model. He indicated to me in our in-person meeting on October 6th that he did not know when his school would receive additional training to help him feel comfortable with training the rest of the CSS staff. He said he had not seen any emails from FCPS's central office this school year about how to proceed. On this day, I informed him that another local CSS program, which is the same distance from my house, had implemented CPS before the end of the school year last year, and that the entire CSS program was fully using the CPS model on every student in their school. He was surprised and did not believe that there had been any timeline issued to implement the program. I am aware that a total of 4 staff were trained at our school, and that the crisis support teacher is commonly taking the lead on implementation of the training of staff and the launch of the program at each site. Our crisis support teacher left as the result of staff turnover, and the new person in this role was not among those who received training last year. I am bringing this uneven implementation and lack of confidence in training to the attention of the ACSD to request further investigation into the claim that all elementary CSS sites are now operating under the collaborative and proactive solutions model. I would request that additional resources and school-specific accountability be put into place immediately to create a more structured, safer, and scientifically supported philosophy of education for these vulnerable children. To the committee, thank you for your time and hard work. And that is the end of the comment. I'm going to rely on someone in the room to tell me who within the room is asking for recognition, please.
Liz, we do have one individual that signed up for public comment, and that is our former committee member, Toby Latham. Toby, you are recognized for such time.
Excellent. I succeeded Toby in the AT role. So welcome, Toby.
Chair Henderson, members of the ACSD and staff, good evening. My name is Toby Latham. I'm here tonight to keep alive a conversation that I've had with many of you at this table. That is the need for FCPS to improve its supports and services for students who need and use augmented and alternative communication in the classroom. 2 summers ago, my son Calvin attended ESY to work on communication goals and was assigned an ESY team that had no training or experience in its AAC system. That experience, among others, prompted me and my wife to work with our state delegate to attempt to pass a law that would require school systems to train their staff appropriately so that students like Calvin don't become on-the-job training opportunities. That effort ultimately failed, but it got a response out of the school system, and last summer, Calvin's ESY team got timely training and adequate support. And for the first time in his 5.5 years of enrollment in the FCPS, he met a communication goal on time. Despite our many conversations with FCPS personnel about AAC training, Calvin walked into a classroom this year with a team that received only operational training. That is, training on how to navigate his AAC system and some basics on the importance of core words and modeling. The data sheet creation, the team approach to modeling language and instruction delivery, none of that information from the summer and the training from the summer was passed on to Calvin's team at his base school, despite its key role in success this summer. And that's a problem not only because it doesn't sound like a best practice, but also because research showed that operational training alone will not produce successful outcomes, no matter how much buy-in you have from the folks supporting an AAC user. So my wife Lucy testified last week at the school board meeting demanding that they direct the superintendent to make this a priority and to explore a policy for AAC instruction. From having served on this committee, I know that you all have this on your radar, and Mike Bloom has it on his radar, and I know that it's important to you all. But from my experience, I've learned that until it becomes a priority in this committee's report, as opposed to just another thing on the wish list, it will not become a priority in this school board's list of things to do, and will continue to linger on as an unmet need. For those of you wondering, this isn't just an IEP team level fix. I've asked for training records just to see if I can get them and have a meaningful conversation about individual IEP team members' training records and gaps in training, and those records were never provided. And frankly, as a parent, I don't want them. I don't want to get into the day-to-day operations of my school's team I prefer just getting to the point where someone automatically says, hey, this kid's an AAC user. We're going to need to ensure that his team has the support and training necessary to design instruction for that student. That's only going to happen if this committee tells the school board that it's a priority. And if that's not enough against you or the school district that it needs to be a priority, ask that you all watch closely a case that was recently granted cert in the Supreme Court. The case is Perez versus Sturgis Public Schools. If that case turns out the way I think it will, and FCPS finds itself in front of families with more money and less patience than mine, the payout for litigation, that will be far greater than just proactively implementing a gold standard policy. Thank you for your time and service. Happy to stick around and talk with you if you'd like.
Thank you, Toby.
Thank you, Toby. Oh, sorry. Sorry,
It's
Harry. I
all
believe
right.
that's all of our. I believe that's all of our public comment that was signed up in advance and submitted in writing, and so I defer back to our capable chair, Harry Henderson. Go right ahead. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Liz, and we hope you get better very soon. Next item is chairman's message. For a number of you all, you may have seen recently, the AR report was released and the school board had a chance to get a presentation on it. I highly recommend to all of you to review that document, to take a moment to look through it. There's a series of recommendations that are within that particular effort. There were some rather important issues that I think that we're going to be focused on over the next number of months, if not years, here on this committee as we try to deal with these particular topics. Some of those issues we all were aware of before AIR came out with their findings. I think some of them simply added some data to back up some of those concerns that existed. It is our plan as a committee to look into a number of these issues and to work on a number of these issues throughout the year and to provide input to the school board and to the division on each of these topics as we come along within it. The second item that I would mention is that one area that we're trying to get ahead of here, and we've been trying to get ahead of this for the last 2 years, is that whenever there's a subject or an issue that is being brought up that impacts special education or individuals with IEPs, we are trying to make sure that we have a timely input on those particular issues and that we are raised with those issues more than just a couple of days in advance of when those issues are being brought to our attention. Earlier during our retreat of the executive committee, Ali Baldessari did a fantastic job putting together a work calendar that kind of outlines when certain issues are going to be raised. And I would urge members of the committee to take a good look at that document. We will be sure and share that with members of the committee to ensure that you have a good chance to review that, so you have an idea of when certain issues are going to be brought up. Second is that Mike Bloom has been working with us and came to our last executive committee meeting with a series of issues that and with timeframes that are associated with them. Our plan is right now that any issue that's going to be implemented, we want to back that issue up at least 2 months to give this committee and members of the subcommittees a chance to be able to provide some thoughtful input on those particular subjects. It's something that you can't ask someone to provide thoughtful input and to do it in a matter of 3 days to be able to provide that issue. Far too often, we asked Susan Edgerton last year to produce reports in a matter of days on particular subjects, and she did absolutely fantastic work on that last year. We're not doing that this year. We are going to take our time, be thoughtful in our response, and be thoughtful in how we bring forward recommendations. The plan, as we see it, is that these issues from time to time will be provided to each subcommittee, that it has jurisdiction on that particular subject. We're going to have that subcommittee have an opportunity to meet with key staff from FCPS, ask questions, get input, and then come back a month later with recommendations for the full committee. Now, some members here aren't going to sit on certain subcommittees, and you may have an input onto that. Be sure to raise that concern with that subcommittee chair. We want to make sure that the work of this committee is being done by rank and file members and not by a select few people within it. We want to make sure everyone has a voice in the room on this particular subject. Likewise, if there's a subject matter or an issue that you feel we're not addressing or that needs to be addressed, please feel free to bring that to the attention of myself, to Liz Zielinski, our vice chair, Brandis, our correspondence secretary, or Ali Baldessari, our recording secretary. Any of the four of us can help you on those particular subjects, and we want to make sure that you understand that some of these issues that are coming along within it. Finally, tonight we're going to be hearing, I know, from the folks that are over at Key Center and Kilmer Center. These are two of our day sites, and particularly given our charge this year from the school board, I think it's important for us to start to get a better understanding of how the day sites work and what it is that goes on at those particular locations. If you are interested in taking a tour of those facilities, I can tell you that both Ann and Wong would be more than happy to work with you to set up a tour to make sure that you have that. I would only suggest this, go in ones and twos in that front, because otherwise it is considered a meeting if more than two of us are at that location for an official visit, and it has to be agendized and everything else that comes along. It just makes it a lot easier for everyone involved if you can maintain that number of individuals. Amanda, you had a quick question?
I do. You mentioned the AIR report and our potential participation in that forward. Has there been any discussion about ACSD's role in the creation of the special ed enhancement plan being developed by FCCS in response to the AIR report?
That has not been communicated to me. I can tell you that I would expect that that's going to be a topic for the executive committee meeting that will happen next Wednesday. Just so you know, the Wednesday after every meeting, the executive committee gets together and we set the agenda for the following month's meeting. And so I suspect that that's going to be a topic at the next meeting. Any other questions to that end?
Harry, this is Dawn.
Dawn.
I don't, like Liz, I'm home with COVID. I don't know if it was just me, but I could not hear the question that was just asked. I apologize.
Yeah, thank you, Don. I was going to let the committee members know if they need to speak, we really need to use one of the handheld mics. Unfortunately, it's the little Jabra that is picking up our voices. So Harry and I, we're in good shape because we're right next to it. So you want to go ahead and repeat, Amanda? That'd be great. Thanks.
Don, thank you for just what I had said was, has there been any discussion regarding ACSD's role in the creation of the special education enhancement plan being developed by FCCS in response to the AIR report?
Okay. Without anything further on that, the next item on our agenda is the attendance report. Ali Baldessari. Ali, I think you're still on mute.
Yes, sorry about that. I've got a whole bunch of tabs open here and I can't find the one that allows me to pop out that one. Okay, here I am. I am ready with the attendance record. Thank you for your patience with me. Okay. All right. First, I'd like to welcome and thank our FCPS liaisons and FCPS guests who are attending this meeting, and then we'll cover ACSD member attendance. Thank you very much for everyone who took the time to attend this meeting, especially our FCPS staff working beyond the hours. So tonight we have Mike Bloom, Director, Office of Special Education Instruction, who is also our fabulous liaison, staff liaison to the ACSD. We also have Dawn Schaefer, as we heard, joining us virtually. She's the Director of Special Education Procedural Support. Oh, I don't have my video on. Sorry about that. I'm joining you from home because I developed a horrible migraine, so sorry about that. Oh, Debbie Lorenzo, Coordinator Procedural Support Services, I think is joining us virtually. Christina Roman, Coordinator Due Process and Eligibility. Thank you for coming. Kathy Murphy may be present in person. She usually is. She's our Assistant Ombudsman of Special Education. I see Mike saying that she is there. Thank you for always coming, Kathy. We appreciate that. Mary Beth Harrison Cunningham is the manager of the Parent Resource Center who gives us updates every time. I also saw joining us virtually, we have 2 procedural support liaisons. It looks like Mary McGreevy and Monique Muldrow Blender are here tonight. So thank you for taking the time to join us virtually. And I also saw Elizabeth Ravel, who I believe joined us virtually, who would be the Administrative Assistant for Early Childhood. Tonight, we also welcome some special guests. So thank you, Kristen Hayner, FCPS's Neurodiversity Specialist, for joining us. We look very forward to hearing information from you. I'm not sure if our administration from the Key and Kilmer Centers have joined us yet, but we are very happy that they are joining us. So we have hopefully I pronounced this correctly, Wang Win, the principal of Kilmer Center, and her assistant principal, Haley Guglielmi. Ann Smith, the principal of Key Center, and her assistant principal, Emily Kaltenmark. As for ACSD member attendance, I am confirming a quorum with all 28 of 28 of our voting members present. There are 34 positions on the ACSD, 6 are currently vacant. Since the last meeting, we welcomed 5 new members. I'd like to say their names. We welcome Sandy Dalhoff, representing the Department of Neighborhood and Community Service, Stephanie Smith, representing School Board Member Tammy Daranack-Kofax, David Bean, representing School Board Member Carl Frisch, Holly Stearns, representing Region 2, and Hideshi Ishikawa, representing Region 5. So welcome to our new members. And that concludes my attendance report.
Thank you very much, Allie. And by the way, Allie, I thought I saw you at Key Center recently as a substitute. Was that correct?
The last 2 days, and I am just loving it. It is just the most wonderfully loving, well-resourced places on earth. Having a wonderful time.
Terrific. I thought I saw you.
See you. I totally missed you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Parent Resource Center news. And for that, we welcome our good friend, the manager of the PRC, Mary Beth Harrison Cunningham. Mary Beth, you are up.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you. I'm so sorry I wasn't here with you all in September. I was actually attending a Virginia Department of Education conference in Virginia Beach, which was a wonderful setting, but it was for the parent resource centers all over the state, along with some other agencies that were there, and really enjoyed our time there. Had some wonderful experiences and learned some new things. I was actually a presenter there and was able to present a couple different breakout sessions. So it was a terrific opportunity for myself and for my staff. Also wanted to mention that the Office of Family and School Partnerships, which is where the Parent Resource Center lies, has actually transitioned over to the Chief Experience and Engagement Office under Lisa Youngblood Hall. And so we're really excited to be joining our colleagues in the Office of the Ombuds, Office of Communications and Community Relations, and our Government Relations Office as well. So we are very excited to be working with Ms. Hall and looking forward to working on and supporting family engagement in FCPS. So just wanted to bring your attention a little bit to the very packed next 3 months that we have at the Parent Resource Center with regard to some of the webinars that we are presenting. We just finished last week, and the YouTube link is up on our YouTube channel. We were so excited to have the staff from the Social Emotional Learning Screener, the Social Emotional Learning Office, led by Dr. Maria Genova, and was able to have a wonderful overview of the SEL screener, had some really great questions from from families with regard to what the screener is, what the screener isn't, and what families can do to support their children as they go through the process of the screener as well as when they get the results. So that was really a wonderful webinar. And we do have coming up this Friday, which I want to draw your attention to, a digital wellness webinar. This is actually getting us ready for Digital Citizenship Week, which happens next week, I believe. But this actually is going to be done by Tammy Sisk, who of course is the digital citizenship specialist in the Office of Instructional Services, and Bethany Deemers, who is our mental wellness specialist for the school system. They are doing this together, and it really is about screens and mental health. And we're so looking forward to having them joining us. But as you can see, and I know Mike may talk a little bit later, or there may be more information about the dyslexia open house that is happening on the 20th. And did want to draw your attention, one last thing, which this year we decided to do a Meet the Author series. And we went into our library and we're looking at some of the resources that we have available and wanted to reach out to authors across the country, actually across the globe, to see if they'd be willing to come and join and meet with our families and talk about their books and talk about things that might be informational and supportive for families. And so our first in the series is called Page Saves the Day. This book was authored by Nailani and Layla Butler, who are graduates of Hayfield Secondary School. They are military connected students. And some of you actually may have heard, I believe it was, I can't remember which sister it was, I apologize, who actually addressed some of the staff during a leadership conference. And these young women are absolutely amazing and they have a beautiful story to tell. And this is our part of our series that we're inviting families and children to attend. They're going to be reading their book and talking about this wonderful character of Paige and how she gets through things like bullying and the strategies that she uses, and it's a lovely, lovely book. And we're so excited to have these two incredible young Fairfax County Public School graduates join us that evening. And so, but please do join us. We have, again, a lot of things happening with our webinars. We are doing something on opioids that was really in relation to things that have been happening in the school system with some of our youth. We want to make sure that we are bringing information to families so they can understand what's going on with opioids and how they can support their children and having some conversations. So we're super excited. Please do give us a call. Come and check out our library, check out our YouTube channel. We have some terrific things up there for you. And please do let us know if there's anything we can do to help you and support you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Mary Beth. Is there any questions for Mary Beth? Lauren, you had a question?
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We were told that the Office of Special Education and Procedural Support is partnering with the PRC to provide some upcoming parent education sessions regarding the proposed changes to the IEP structure. And I wondered if you could offer any details about the development of that and the intended timeline.
Unfortunately, is that Amanda that's talking? No, Lauren.
Lauren.
I'm not sure. Lauren. Hi, Lauren. We have not had any correspondence with the Office of Special Ed Procedural Support at this point. I know that was offered, I believe last month as part of a discussion with Dr. Boyd. We are certainly available to support that effort. And we'll work with the Office of Special Ed Procedural Support and certainly with Dawn and with Mike to support their efforts moving forward.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Mary Beth, thank you so much for your report. We greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
And we will see you next month. Our next item on the agenda is our DSS updates. And for that, we will turn to our friend, Mike Bloom.
Thank you, Harry. So we're going to start off this evening's updates with a special guest. So the committee had requested an opportunity to meet our new neurodiversity specialist in Fairfax County Public Schools. And so we're going to go ahead and introduce you to Kristen Hayner, our new neurodiversity specialist. And Kristen's going to be sharing with you a little bit about her role and engaging with the committee here for a little bit, and also providing an opportunity if there are any questions for her tonight. So with that being said, I am going to turn things over to Kristen Hayner.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mike, and the executive officers for the opportunity to speak with you all tonight and introduce myself to this group, and really just to connect around the current neurodiversity work. I have the privilege of serving as the neurodiversity specialist on the Equity and Cultural Responsiveness team, otherwise known as the ECR team, in the Office of Professional Learning and Equity. And I also want to thank those of you in the room who really advocated for this equity work, the need for this in Fairfax County, and advocating for this position to be created, which I started in May. And the mission thus far has been to shift mindsets, attitudes, and beliefs around neurodiversity and our neurodivergent community, to really facilitate that transformational change in those mindsets and approaches and practices within FCPS. Some of the things that I've been working on, I just kind of created a high leverage list that includes meeting and engaging with stakeholder groups and really working to elevate neurodivergent voices, building central office team capacities around neurodiversity affirming approaches, facilitating professional development for those teams, teachers, administrators, partnering with the wonderful Mary Beth at the Parent Resource Center for some upcoming webinars. We have student equity leads, our SEALs, who are very passionate about this work as well, and actually requested to create a neurodiversity committee led by students, which I'll be supporting, and it's incredible to have that energy and that passion. I'm also supporting equity work within our operational professionals and providing after-school courses for teachers. And really just want to I thought this might be a nice example of some of that work. So this past Monday on the 10th, the ECR team provided additional deeper learning sessions for any instructional employee. And the in-person PD sessions that I offered were titled Neurodiversity Affirming Students' Strengths, Voices, and Experiences. And they were the most highly attended of all of the sessions. And the only reason that I name that is just to highlight the need and desire that others have to learn more about this and to really engage in the work. And the three outcomes, intended outcomes for the sessions were to cultivate an understanding and appreciation for what neurodiversity is, to enhance student relationships and engagement, consider foundational terminology to support our asset-based language use, critically reflect on individual mindsets towards radical inclusion for all students. And some of the feedback from those sessions that I just pulled from the data that was collected was in a I used to think and now I think format. And some of the comments that were submitted were, I used to think that students are either smart or not smart. And now I see how all students are smart. I used to think I should be working to help students who are neurodivergent to assimilate. Now I think I need to work to restructure the environment to meet their strengths. And that I hope this content, the neurodiversity content and work, becomes a required training. And so last night I had the privilege of meeting Dr. Temple Grandin at a speaking engagement. I was not expecting to be able to interface with her. And the way that she said something really shook me, as I thought it was a powerful way to name some of those previously mentioned items pertaining to student strengths. And she said, how might we be limiting student opportunity by locking our students into labels? And so I've been really reflecting on that a lot in the past 21 hours. And so these first few months have been really transformational for the neurodiversity work. And in saying that, it cannot be done alone. So with that being said, I really look forward to these partnerships and opportunities for collaboration that come from this community. And I really just thank you for giving me the time and space to elevate this work. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to stay and chat. So thank you.
Are there any questions for Kristen? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Ally, you had a question?
Sure, I have the opportunity. Hold on, let me find my list of questions that I had pre-prepared. Okay, just one. Okay. Sorry, I have other questions for other DSS updates I wanted to ask. Let me make sure I find the right question here. Okay, we've been concerned with disproportionality in the discipline for students with disabilities. Many of those students are students who are neurodiverse, so there's other disabilities involved in the disproportionality with discipline. But this was a finding of the recent AIR final report that had been previously found otherwise. And, in-house discipline studies done by our ORC office in 2019 showing FCPS students with disabilities were 3.5 times as likely to receive a disciplinary referral than their non-disabled peers. So is there any way that your office would be involved in preventing disproportionate discipline?
That is a hope and desire. I will say it's probably important to name that there is just one of me. And I say that not that the ECR team is not focusing on this equity work as it is within their realm as well. However, I'm the only one whose sole focus is neurodiversity and our neurodivergent student experiences. So with that being said, yes, that is my hope. And I have been having some wonderful conversations and opportunities to connect with some of the other FCPS staff members here today. And I'm also trying to find some other creative ways to gather some more data, and actually going to meet with a head of security and a SOSA tomorrow at a school to kind of review some of the current trainings that have been taking place, and really to kind of provide some mindset tools, especially as it relates to that disproportionality, and maybe getting behind what assumptions might be behind some of these disciplinary actions. That's a long-winded wraparound way to say, yes, I hope so. And if you have any ideas for other points of connections, please don't hesitate to email me.
Thank you. We do have another question from our Vice Chair, Elizabeth Zielinski.
Hi, Kristen. Thank you so much for the work you're doing. It's very much a passion of mine, embracing neurodiversity and the progressive view of neurodiverse students. And I really celebrate the work that you're doing. So thank you for that. One of the suggestions I wanted to make to you is that in addition to, two of them actually, in addition to involving neurodiverse students in this process, I would urge you to include past students that could maybe tell you what went wrong for them, rather than the ones that are just in the system now. And then the other thing I would urge you is, and this actually came up somewhat with our public comment earlier tonight and Toby Latham, my area of expertise in my advocacy work is complex communication disorders. And I have learned from autistic adults that there is a divide in the autism community between speaking autistics and non-speaking autistics. And as much as I admire Temple Grandin, unfortunately, she's taken up sides with that speaking segment. The presumption of competence and intellectual ability is critically important for the non-speaking autistic community. I would love to consult with you on that if that's something you're open to, but I could absolutely connect you with my own son who's 17 and is non-speaking autistic, as well as older students who left the system because their communication needs were not supported as a non-speaking autistic. I have so much positive anticipation for the work that you're doing, and I just I'm so grateful that you're in the role that you are. And while you may be alone, I think I speak for many, many people who would love to throw our hand in an unofficial capacity.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I just feverishly wrote your name down to connect with you. Yes, I think one of I should show you my whiteboard of kind of like a mind map of different areas that are just so needed to be touched on and amplified, and the communication piece is absolutely one of them, kind of switching even from the language that we use to, instead of saying speaking, to saying communicating.
No, actually, that's incorrect. If you don't mind me just stopping you,
please.
Everybody communicates. And so you don't allocate somebody who communicates as a difference. What we want to get away from is saying somebody's nonverbal, because to say somebody is nonverbal is to say they are without words. And my son has many, many words. He just doesn't have speech. Language is a cognitive process. Speech is a motor process. They're not even in the same part of the brain. They're completely unrelated. So I'm so sorry to have interrupted you and corrected you publicly on that, but everybody communicates. And so you don't want to look at somebody different and call them a communicator, because I'm a communicator. You know, our kids have differences. They're not afraid to name what those differences are. You said it earlier in your report, it's not about making them like us. It's about meeting their needs where they are and including them with the mainstream population to the degree that they're able and with the supports that they need. So I'm so sorry to have jumped in, and I actually furiously wrote your name down as well. So
no, please don't apologize. And the other thing that I wanted to name is that my expertise thus far has really been in learning disabilities and the emotional needs of students and the cognitive functions in relations to brain. And so kind of moving into the communication piece is something that I need to learn more about. So I appreciate these opportunities to engage like that together. And also for anybody else in the room, if there's articles or research that you find that you would feel would be beneficial to read, I would love to kind of start that sort of a resource back and forth as well. And there was something else I wanted to, and thank you for offering about the students. If anybody is in the room from SEPTA, they also have been incredible about providing an avenue for kind of getting that student perspective and voice. So thank you to everybody.
Sanaa, you're next up.
Hi, Mr. Heiser. Thank you for joining us. My question is about, is there any developed program or simplified program for elementary school students that can help our students know better about neurodiversity?
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear as well. I just want to make sure I heard the question right. Is there any sort of programming or support for learning opportunities for students around neurodiversity?
In elementary school.
In elementary school.
My question is, there is any program to simplify the knowledge? Like these students on the elementary school, they don't know what is neurodiversity. Are you willing to develop any simplified program for those students to learn more about that? That might help our students to stop bullying other students.
That is a fantastic question. And that is also on my my map of where I believe this work needs to go, and not only a belief that I have, but others have shared as well. And just due to the nature of trying to be in 50 places at once, I have asked for passionate individuals to join a work group with me because one of the things that I would like to accomplish is providing opportunities for students to have these conversations. And also just being really aware of what is on my plate, that I need help with that. And so that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to task with this work group that I'm currently developing. So as of right now, is there anything? There's not anything that I know of. And I've been looking, and there's nothing from, we just haven't developed anything yet from Fairfax County, just because this has been just a couple months in this position. But I would love to hopefully report back to you very soon with progress on that.
Thank you. Amanda Campbell.
That's actually a good transition into what I'm going to ask you. Hi, Kristen. Nice to see you again. I recently attended a webinar this week with Jordan Zimmerman from Communication First. She is an AAC user, and she spoke very powerfully about the trauma caused to students who have complex communication needs. And you were just mentioning the work group that you have created. I'm wondering if you've had the opportunity to invite the trauma-informed specialist into that work to help provide that lens to the neurodiversity work as well.
Are you referring to Lisa, Dr. Pfeiffer?
Yes.
Yes, we've been in close communication about kind of opportunities of where our work intersects and how we can continue to collaborate. I had not yet been able to discuss with her this specific work group. However, I will. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Holly Stearns.
Hi. I appreciated what you were saying about teachers coming in and realizing that students don't have to be one thing or the other. And I was hoping you could say a few words about anything you might be doing for the choice exceptional student community.
Such a great question. Well, I did ask to serve on the interview panel for the position that will hopefully be filled very, very soon. And right now it is a component of the work that I'm providing in conversations that I'm having, because I don't want to assume here that we share the same sentiment, but that it's not talked about enough and that it's not named. And so maybe reframe. Have I done anything specifically in terms of professional development to singularly address choice exceptionality? Not yet, but it is included in the neurodiversity work and the framework that I'm providing for a lot of the foundational and introductory professional developments. And so that is one of the areas in which I would like to expand on. And my plan is to partner very closely when the new individual hopefully is found and named and hired, so that we can kind of do this work together. I know that's probably not the answer you want to hear, but I'm working on it.
That much I appreciate. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, Chris. And Mike, turn back to you.
Great, thank you. And thank you again, Kristen, for joining us today. And we look forward to hearing some additional updates as weeks and months move forward in your new position. So thank you again. All right, I'm going to go ahead and provide some additional updates from DSS. And the first update is a personal update for me, but definitely will have an impact on the ACSD. And I'm very excited to let you know that our very own Natashi has been offered and has accepted a promotion as Senior Executive Administrative Assistant in the Chief Experience and Engagement Office. So Natashi will be directly supporting Lisa Youngblood Hall, and she's our new Chief Experience and Engagement Officer. And most recently, Ms. Youngblood Hall served as the Chief Communications and Experience Officer for the North Shore School District in the state of Washington with Dr. Reed, our Superintendent of Schools. So while I'm truly excited for Natasha on this promotion, I must also say that I'm a little sad for all of us and for me and us collectively, as we'll be losing a dear friend and colleague who has been supporting my Office of Special Ed Instruction really for the last 16 years. And she's also been supporting the ACSD for the last 12 years. And Natasha, previous to coming into the Office of Special Ed Instruction, she for 4 years supported our Career in Transition Services team. And so I know that we're certainly going to miss Natasha and all that she's brought to the ACSD and to me personally in her role as my administrative assistant. And so Natasha, believe it or not, is going to be starting in her new role beginning tomorrow. So things were confirmed last week. And so we've been very busy this week. Natasha's position was posted in our job opportunities section of our HR website. And so I'll be working the next 2 to 3 weeks. It'll close next week, and then we'll have interviews. So Liz Ravel, who you may have seen joining Natasha and us tonight, she is sort of here to learn a little bit about Natasha's role for these meetings. You may see Liz in some of the upcoming meetings until we bring someone new on board. But I just wanted to let all of you know that we're going to dearly miss Natasha and how she has served the ACSD. So please join me in congratulating Natasha.
And if I can, I'd just like to echo that, there's more than a few occasions that Tashi has saved. I know a number of us that have served on the executive committee over the years say that you saved our bacon on more than a few occasions like this. And it's greatly appreciated, and it's well deserved on your part. Congratulations.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for letting me share that with the committee. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again because I have a PowerPoint that we're going to put up here for just a couple of more updates that I'm going to share. So give me 1 second. The committee the executive officers wanted me to share a little bit of information regarding the behavior education professional development plan. And so on this slide, I'm going to share a few updates with the committee. So many of you may know from some of the previous meetings and last year when I spoke a little bit about the behavior education plan, that this was a plan that was developed primarily through the Department of Special Services in collaboration with a number of other departments here in Fairfax County Public Schools. It's really meant to be a teaching and learning plan designed to build the capacity of our school-based staff as they work hard to meet the social, emotional, and behavioral needs and the academic needs of our students in Fairfax County. And this plan was really developed to support all students, not just students with disabilities. But as part of this plan, one thing that we're excited about is that we're doing something that in Fairfax County, for many of these behavior trainings and courses that we're providing, we've never done before, which is to actually require staff to have to participate in these trainings. And so the key difference in this plan is that staff, and this includes all instructional staff, administrators, special education staff, staff have been assigned required professional development opportunities that are really grounded in evidence-based practices focused on a number of skills related to positive behavior support, student mental wellness, conflict prevention, de-escalation, crisis response. And as part of the plan, the courses have really been designed to really meet the goal that every student is thriving in a school culture that is safe and supportive. And so that's the ultimate goal. We did want to let you know that the behavior education plan was shared with the school board last week, and we've developed a website that has the plan attached to it. So I'll make sure that all of the ACSD members get this PowerPoint so that you can access the link. It's available and it went live on Monday of this week. And so I knew we had this meeting coming up this week. We also have a principal briefing tomorrow where we'll be sharing some additional information with our principals. And then we're currently working with the Office of Communications and Community Relations so that we message out to the broader community in Fairfax and again, share the link to the plan with our community. So again, we're very excited. I'm going to just click on the link here so you can just briefly see the web page that was developed. And it's really designed to be accessible, and it's in a format where you can take a look at the different components of the plan. So you can print out a PDF version of the entire plan, but the plan itself, I'm not going to have time now to go into all the details. You'll be able to take a look, and you can certainly submit questions for the record if you've got additional questions once you have a look at the plan. But it does go through the strategic goals that are supported by this plan. There are specific goals and metrics that have been designed as part of the behavior plan. So those are all included on the webpage, and you'll be able to see what those are. We've set very specific targets attached to each of the goals that's included as part of the plan. So you'll be able to look and see what those goals are, the metrics attached, and then our target dates associated. And then further in the plan, we've got some information about our work with Dr. Ross Green around collaborative and proactive solutions. We've got the plan really broken down into 3 different sets of trainings and coursework for our staff. And the plan that you'll be able to see outlines all of the different staff that are going to be required to take certain courses that are part of the plan. So the first group of courses are really universal or school-wide systems and practices. These are training specific that are good for all instructional staff. And we define that further in the plan to include administrators, general education, special education, librarians, counselors, really anyone who's in the school in an instructional capacity is going to be required to take a number of these trainings. And again, I won't go through. There are completion timelines that are associated with the courses that staff need to take. Many of these were assigned during the summer, so a number of staff have already completed many of the courses that are part of the plan, and there are staggered completion or deadline dates according to the plan. So you'll see that some are due or had been due at the end of September. Others need to be completed by November, December, and then by the end of the school year. But again, you'll have an opportunity to look. The second tier of trainings are designed for a targeted or select group of instructional staff. And so again, just one example, advanced training in crisis management. So we have the MANT system and PCM, professional crisis management, that not every single instructional staff member takes, but there are certain staff in every school who are required to take these particular trainings. And again, you can go through the list and see who's required to take certain trainings that are part of this second tier of trainings. And then the third tier is very intensive targeted intervention training. And so again, the plan will show you that there are some schools that are being trained in the implementation training for Dr. Green's collaborative and proactive solutions. And we list the schools that are up there. UKIRU is another training that we brought to some schools last year, and we're again continuing to bring that training to new staff members who are at that school sites. And so there are some additional trainings, again, without going through each one, that you'll be able to take a look. And again, we welcome any questions or comments that you might have once you take a peek. And then we also have a section in the plan on monitoring and compliance of the different components of the plan. And then finally, there's a section related to ongoing support. It's just a way for our community to have a better understanding of the role that different school-based and central office staff play in helping to support student behaviors and student wellness within our schools. So many of you are familiar with the role of the behavior intervention teachers. So this just outlines a little bit of their role for the community to understand. Our applied behavior analysis coaches, our school psychologists and school social workers, and our school counselors. So again, we're very excited to be able to roll this out, share this with our community, share this with the ACSD. And as I said before, we look forward to just continued collaboration as you've got questions that come up so that we can, address anything that's on your minds related to the plan. So before I go on to the next part, I see we've
Yeah.
got at least one question.
Yeah.
So do we want
We
to
have
take
a
a
couple.
question about this before we go
Yeah,
on
why
to
don't
the
we do
next?
that? Members are also advised that if a question comes to you after we leave here, we do have questions that are able to be submitted for the record, so that if you go home and you realize, boy, I forgot that I should have asked that question, or I had this idea that I should have brought up. Please feel free to send that to our recording secretary, Ali Baldessari, and she can make sure to include that in our questions for the record segment. With that being said, Amanda Campbell.
Hi, thank you, Harry. It is my understanding that not all special education needs are aware of this information's existence, and also have not necessarily had access to all of these trainings, as they were not supposed to have caseloads this year. So I'm wondering if you can speak to what kind of communication has gone out to the special ed leads, given that they're supervising the teachers in the classroom, so that they are on the same page with the staff that they're supervising in terms of what the procedures and implementation should be.
Sure. So we have worked with our Department of Professional Learning to make sure that the right people who are in different positions have access to the trainings, and that many of these trainings that we've deemed as required, the staff who are assigned have access to them. So it was my understanding that the new department chair leads, because we've changed their description within our internal system, they're not considered teacher positions anymore. They're their own sort of designated position as a department chair. It was my understanding that they were supposed to be on the list of individuals who did receive in their PD playlist the courses that are part of this plan. So I'll go and I'll double check just to make sure that that has happened. And if not, we definitely want to make sure that they are on the list of the trainings that are required for instructional staff.
I do know for a fact that they're not getting all of them.
Okay, and then the other form of communication, early on when we communicate with principals, the principals, of course, in our principal briefings, share that information with their staff. So there are certain pieces of information on the development of the plan that should have been shared with instructional staff in the spring, as well as this summer and this fall. So once we have the briefing tomorrow, there'll be an additional set of information that'll filter down from the principals right to the department chairs and the rest of the special ed staff.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Lauren?
So I just want to say thank you for all of the work that has gone into this. I think it is a massive step forward in terms of transparency for parents, for the community, for all of the staff members to know these are the trainings that are available. This is who has access to them. This is how long the training is. This is the type of training that it is. I just think it's really fantastic. I was also very, very happy to see collaborative and proactive solutions in a lot of different places. I just wanted to loop back to the public comment at the beginning of tonight's meeting and ask about where should the elementary CSS sites be? Because I thought that all of the elementary CSS sites had gotten their training and had begun implementation, and that this year the secondary sites were beginning that, but that public comment indicated that that is not the case.
Sure. So, I mean, we're not supposed to address public comment in the moment, but since the question has come up, I can sort of, address it the best I can right now. But just know that that public comment was sort of a surprise to me as well. So I'll be following up. I know that the person who gave public comment didn't identify the specific school, but I can tell you that all 7 CSS elementary sites were trained last school year directly by either Dr. Green or his colleague, Michelle Rosenberg, as part of 10, and in some cases, some of the schools had additional coaching sessions. So there was a small core team of staff that included an administrator that went and participated in these coaching sessions, and they were instructed to be able to use that core team who was trained to go back to their larger staff in the CSS site and bring that training to them. The behavior intervention teachers who also supported those 7 CSS sites were also part of that core team. So the goal was, again, to be able to pair the behavior intervention teacher with the school, the CSS site that they supported, and then the core team at the school to be able to bring that training and sort of build capacity within their school team to do that. Now, I know that some schools have had some shifting of staff, and this is one thing that sort of piqued my interest. So in this particular school that this person had been speaking of in public comment, I'd like to go back and find out, is there the administrator or members of the core team that had sort of shifted positions? And what do we need to do to make sure that we message to those schools? And, you know, the reality is right now we've engaged, actually, it was earlier this week, with the middle and high school CSS sites and our public day sites, Quanda Road and Cedar Lane. And so Dr. Green trained all of those sites earlier this week. So we want to make sure that we message out how those schools are to move forward with the implementation plan for this. So we are going to follow up. I'm going to follow up specifically with those 7 CSS elementary sites, and we'll make sure very quickly we get those staff members trained up.
Daniel,
I'm sorry, can I just a quick follow-up? Is there a deadline for implementation of this? Once they've received the training, is there an understanding that it is mandatory?
Yes. So the understanding is that once they've received the implementation training, that again, as new staff are brought on board, they'll utilize their core team at the school along with the behavior intervention teacher to train new CSS staff that might be, you know, coming into the program at the start of a school year. Yep.
Daniel.
This may be just from my ignorance, but our safety and security staff in there somewhere, what are they captured under?
So at the CSS sites,
Okay.
well, the CSS sites, specifically the middle school and high school, there are different levels of like safety and security. So if you're talking about the school safety and security officers, those positions might be different from what we call a crisis resource teacher, who's a specific teaching position that's dedicated specifically to the CSS sites around around supporting those sites. So the training that we've done so far with the CSS sites is really centered around the core team that's part of the CSS. So right now, the safety and security officers are not being trained specifically in this intensive training around collaborative and proactive solutions. There's a level 1 training for Dr. Ross Green that all staff need to take. And I believe safety and security personnel are included in that training. So they have an understanding of the model and the different components of the model.
Okay, I just didn't see there in the list of the all train of all staff being trained.
Yeah.
We have Ali, and then we have Sana, and then we have one other question, and then we gotta move along here because we have our guests that are here to talk to us. So Ali, if you can be brief, I'd appreciate it.
And I'm sorry, you was that asked the previous question, so I can record it correctly for the minutes.
I'm sorry. What was that, Ellie? I'm sorry.
The previous question attributed to for the minutes. I apologize. Since I'm not first.
It's Daniel Cornell.
That was David. Okay, David. Sorry.
Daniel.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Daniel, sorry. Okay, my question was, well, okay, I have a couple comments, is to consider having these trainings. I know because I was a FCPS employee and currently working as a substitute, that as far as I can tell, these trainings aren't available. And I'm sure you don't want to require them because it may seem overwhelming to someone who's really looking for a part-time job. That's why they're subbing. But to please consider making them optional for subs who really want to might work with a lot of students with behavioral challenges and really want to be able to do their best for those students. Please consider finding a way to make these trainings optional for subs. And also, my other comment would be that you have under like select schools for Ukuru. I've commented in the past that there are some students, I know that Ukuru is a program designed for specific populations with students, and generally those are those with the more severe challenges, including severe autism, intellectual disabilities and things. But there are students within those populations in the elementary school IDS, severe IDS and enhanced autisms. So I just wanted to make sure that instead of centrally FCPS selecting the schools that, okay, you're asking for our help, and we say that we think Ukaru would be a solution for you, and we will give you the gear and the training for this, is to really make sure that everyone knows this wonderful program exists in FCPS, and let the schools be aware of it so that they might select themselves, that they have an interest in trying it for the students that they see themselves might be a good candidate. And those are my comments.
All right, thank you, Ally, for that feedback.
Sanab, quickly.
Thank you, Ali. Alice already asked about the substitute teachers. It's the same question that I have. Are they included on the plan?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we will have to coordinate with the substitute teacher office, because it's my understanding that substitutes may not have, as part of the onboarding process, the same access to trainings that a full-time FCPS staff has. So we have to figure out a way that they can gain this training. They do have a certain set of trainings as they come into the county that they're required to take as part of their role as a substitute, but very specific trainings like what we've incorporated as part of this plan, we're going to have to really work closely with them in terms of their assignments, who they're supporting, and then make sure that we pair up the right training for the role that they're going to play.
Carolyn.
Really quickly, so I love seeing the CPS model as a part of the behavior education plan. So in line with that, are you all looking at the FBA and the BIP paperwork? Because the way it is currently written does not really provide flexibility for school teams to actually include anything from the LSAP or the collaborative problem-solving approach, lagging skills, unsolved problems in those two documents.
Sure. So actually, we've had some conversation with Dr. Green about FBA BIP process. And so just in the training earlier this week, he was talking about, how if you complete the LSAP, you've basically completed your FBA, because it's identifying those lagging skills. So we are working with Dr. Axler and his team from Psychology Services. They've done a lot of the training and continue to do training around FBA BIP process. And so we want to make sure that schools have a clear understanding as they're implementing CPS, but they're also conducting FBAs and BIPs, that we're working together so that there's no confusion in the process for either one. And they're really two processes that will complement each other and can really work closely together to ultimately inform the IEP process around goals and objectives, based on student needs.
Mike, if you would just briefly, I know most folks know what those acronyms all stand for, but I have to think there's several in the room that are unaware of what those acronyms stand for. FBA
is a functional behavioral assessment.
BIP
is a behavioral intervention plan.
LSAP. You said LSAP, am I correct?
The LSAP.
The initial.
I was thinking L, the letter L. Yes. The LSAP is the assessment of lagging skills and unsolved problems. And that's specific to Dr. Ross Green. So that's his assessment tool that's part of the CPS program.
And last CPS is
collaborative and proactive solutions.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. By the way, and again, members that didn't get a chance to ask a question or have additional questions, please feel free to submit those for the record. Do you have additional?
Great. So yes, real quickly, one other item, the executive officers at last month's meeting asked me to briefly share some data related to our ESY programming from this past summer. And so I wanted to share with you some of our high-level numbers for ESY. I know there were some concerns, of course, last year and this year, we did have staffing challenges, and we did have to work with human resources in order to increase the hourly wage for many of our ESY workers, which we were able to do, and then bring in before the start of ESY, the staff that we really needed to be able to have a successful ESY program. And so these are some of the numbers I just wanted to share with you. We had record numbers of participants in our ESY programs. We had over 2,800 preschool and elementary students, almost 700 middle and high school students, 161 from our center programs. And then we also had all of the other programs which are listed there, almost 200, which include our preschool resource, consult services, homebound, vision and speech only, and additional and alternative services. The number of sites, we had 13 elementary sites, 3 secondary, and then those 5 centers, the center programs are listed there. And then on the right-hand side is the number of staff that were hired to support ESY. So we had a total of 32 administrators, and SPARTs are special education administrative resource teachers. We had almost 400 teachers, 542 paras, 21 office assistants, school health aides, safety and security, speech and language pathologists, and then there's PTOT, vision and hearing teachers, and then assistants. And the other thing I wanted to let you know is, after all was said and done, because we were really working hard to hire to be able to support all of our sites during the ESY summer session, we ended up, of all those students listed there, only having 9 families that we had to work with. They were 9 families whose students were primarily attending the foundations classrooms, so primarily students with autism, who we didn't have enough staffing to be able to support. So our Office of Procedural Support, beginning in the summer, has worked collaboratively with those 9 families. A number of them we've already fulfilled are the ESY services that the IEP determined were required by that student. And then we're continuing to work with a small number of those other 9 families as they're continuing to receive some of those ESY services. So all in all, we were able to support, with the exception of those 9 families, through our school-based program, all of the students. And I think that's attributed to our hard work and our really support from HR and the school board to be able to increase the compensation for both teacher positions and para positions to be able to staff ESY. Okay, so that is the end of our updates.
Thank you very much. We are really pleased tonight to have with us both principals from Key Center and Kilmer Center with us, as well as assistant principal from Key Center as well. Wanted your assistant principal? She was unable to make, okay. One of the things, given our charge this year from the school board, is particularly focused toward the day sites within and the centers within Fairfax County Public Schools. And one of the things that we at the executive committee noticed that, you know, not everyone's fully aware of what it is that our centers are doing, particularly Key Center and Kilmer Center. I've described these as, frankly, the crown jewels of Fairfax County Public Schools for the great work that they are doing in Fairfax County Public Schools. And so what we would like to do is we'd like to ask our guests from Key Center and Kilmer Center to come on up and to talk to us a little bit about centers, what it is that goes on at our centers, and answer any questions that you may have. Where would you like them, Mike? Probably.
Yeah, we've got 2 microphones, so let's get you microphones. And I'm sorry, I have to log in to pull up the
Here, take this one.
Sure.
Yeah. I also say that I am a little biased here. I do have a daughter at Key Center. So, you know, I have said repeatedly that both Emily and Ann are the best in the business on it. Sorry, Juan. But I'm a big fan of Key Center, and I know the great work that they do. And with that, I will.
Thank you. My name is Emily Kaltenmark and I'm assistant principal of Key Center. It is always a pleasure to come and talk about our dynamic program. So I'm just going to give you a little overview. Both Key and Kilmer offer specialized instruction for students ages 5 to 22 with disability designations of multiple disabilities, autism, intellectual disabilities severe, and other health impairments. The centers are considered public separate day schools as part of the continuum of services for students who are unable to demonstrate progress with appropriate accommodations and strategies in less restrictive environments such as their base school. Both Key and Kilmer offer 2 programs within their school. We have a center, what we call a center, I think you call it IDS, for students with intellectual disability severe, and a behavior transition program for students who have autism and interfering complex behaviors as well. So some of our program features include we give instruction in ASOL, essential life skills, and we work on IEP goals. Our class sizes range for behavior transition anywhere from 4 to 6 students, and in our center classes from 5 to 8 students. In those classrooms, we have a teacher and 2 paraprofessionals. Often it is a teacher, a PHTA, and a PHA. We also have related services on site, psychologist, social worker, career and transition teacher, behavior resource teacher, adapted PE teachers, and a PHN on site.
Thanks, Emily, and thank you all for giving us a chance to speak pretty specifically to our programs. And please know we could go on for hours. So we did want to hit the highlight of what we think you need to know, and we fully realize there'll be questions. So what I'd like to do is just give you an idea, give you a chance to read this slide of what does that severe disability or IDS program in particular look like. So this is very similar to the CAP-B IDS programs in school-based programs. Yet in our setting, we want to highlight that our students have a little bit more severe, profound disabilities, and those delays are in all areas of their development. The medical fragile conditions, and sometimes you'll have a scattering in school-based programs, but yet in our center classes, they would all have those medical fragile conditions and at various levels. So a case in point too, a student may have a seizure condition and may need to rest or take a short nap. And we can do that in a comfortable setting within the classroom and then help the student alert back to an academic or the activities of daily living that we stress and emphasize in our setting. All of our students require significant instructional adaptations. I think some folks feel that when students could be referred to the center-based programs, they will get more because they have more one-on-one. Well, as you can imagine, what you're feeling as an impact here, our students are pretty significantly impaired, so they all need significant issues, and it's very hard to offer that one-to-one, and yet it is very well done. So you do have to come try and take a look at us and see what we're about so that you can see how we share that time and yet give each student what they need specifically to grow and become more independent. I also wanted to highlight here that many of our students, most of our students have significant language delay. So all of our staff are very familiar with low tech, high tech, every little bit of how to build the receptive language in students, and certainly then expand expressive languages as well, expressive language in whatever modality the student can best do that. And all of our staff are trained in a variety of medical procedures similar to those CAP-B trainings and CAP-B needs in school-based programs, but in our setting, the entire classroom team can work with each student in that classroom. It's really a smooth and very seamless way to have both the teacher and those different assistants in those classrooms to work with each child. It's very important to make sure they're all on the same page. And some of those things that you may see in those school-based programs and be aware of in our setting, our staff could and would be required to do catheterization, G-tube feeding. They all are aware of student healthcare plans, so they would know, especially when if any particular staff member's out, the whole team would need to know how to implement those healthcare plans. We also use mealtime protocols. For this population, students typically have difficulty with meal times, and so all of our staff in those classrooms need to know how to support meals. And something rather unique, we're very clear in our building that everyone does a little bit more than their job description. And it's a wonderful thing that they all are willing to do so. We probably would not survive and meet the level of success that we have without that. Case in point, I know Emily and I rely on a staff member from the office to come in. Emily's trained as backup medication distribution and administration. And this other staff member frequently assists Emily and or myself with 911 calls. So she's part of the team that's helping with timing, making notifications, and various levels of support during what could be an emergency. So case in point, you've already picked up, I think, based on your attention, that most of our students need those activities of daily living addressed throughout their school day, and all of our staff are very good about building that independence. So I want to give you an idea too, behavior transition program. Give you an idea too of what this means in terms of built within our program. So both of these programs are in our building in different hallways, but we definitely blend. We may go through the cafeteria to get breakfast or lunch together, but we do try to make it rather unique. The transition classes move about the building during a certain time so that the students who might be learning to walk or navigate the hallways have time to do so. So giving you a chance to read this, I won't read it specifically to you, but I do want to just make sure you know that our teachers, our paraprofessionals, and even our administration, like I think Mike touched upon, are trained in UCARE in the behavior transition program. So the students or the staff rather in the IDS program do not necessarily have UCARE or PCM. They would support behavioral challenges in that program, but the behavior transition program staff are trained in both those modalities. And we have readily used that pretty frequently, and we were grateful to have that opportunity, especially last year as students were coming back to school with a very disruptive type life from pandemic, as it was for all of us, but also just those demands of school, a new time frame for a school day, and certainly the rigors of navigating a classroom IEP set of goals and challenges. So just as Dr. Reed said, I just want to emphasize learning happens best in community. We are a community of learners, and we are fascinated really with how the challenges of our students can be met with us working as a community team in both our schools. I've been able to see Wong's school in action a few years ago, but we know from our conversations that things are very similar in both schools. So with that, I'll turn this over to Wong, who will give us an idea about the referral process to the key centers, both programs, to either the IDS or the transition program.
Thank you, Ann, and Harry, thank you for the invitation to your meeting tonight. We really appreciate it. You may be asking yourself, how do students get enrolled at Key Center and County Center? Unfortunately, families can't come in through our front doors and register their children. Our environments are very restrictive, and so we must be very selective to make sure we satisfy the district environment mandate. And so that selection is called a referral process. It's a two-pager, 3 parts. The first part and a critical part is called the intervention checklist. So each school, so let me paint a picture. The school that's sending this is any neighborhood school that has a that has special education services in the school. And for a specific example, an elementary school with an enhanced autism site may have a child with challenging behaviors. In this intervention checklist at the top, you can't see it, but that school team better have some really good data as to why they're referring this child to be transported far from their base school to our restricted environment. As you know, all decisions are data driven, and so that intervention checklist is super critical, and we make sure that it's that they do a good job with the intervention checklist. And then the next form is the next part is the referral checklist. It has like the FBA, BIP, and other important student information. There's a clear process after this packet is submitted to our school teams. We have a team, including a school psychologist, that goes through this rather thick packet pretty thoroughly. We want to make sure on paper we know as much as we can about the student. Next, we usually ask for an observation. Myself or Haley, the assistant principal, and a behavior research teacher will schedule an appointment, and we'll go observe the student for at least an hour. I know it's only one data point, but I think it's a necessary step in this process. Depending on who initiates the referral, we will invite the parents into a tour. It's very important that any parent gets to see our facility, our students, meet our staff, and just take a tour of the building and see what it's all about. Sometimes they make up their minds when they come into our environments. After the tour, we'll hold an IEP meeting, and all the teams, all the school teams are present, of course, with the parents. And through that process, we determine through the data if Kilmer Center or Key Center is the appropriate setting for the student. And the conversations can get really robust. But at the end of the day, everyone's a professional. We use data to inform our decisions. So it's a real brief summary of the referral process.
I have a couple questions myself, and I'll start off and then we'd open it up for other questions that folks may have. The referral process sounds pretty labor intensive in terms of time, in terms of effort that comes along. You all have a significant population that's already a labor intensive operation for your staff. You have a significant burnout issue, I know, with staff that as they're dealing with significant challenges that come along. What recommendations would both of you have, all three of you have, for how we could assist with things, or what should be done to assist to alleviate staff burnout, number one, and two, to be able to address some of that hefty amount of the intensive level of labor that goes into this referral process?
I think that's more than one question. So it has more than one part. You got me with the referral process, so we're going to start with that piece. I think the key piece is to continue to do what we have in here as the process as a referral. So we are fortunate enough that both schools have two staff that work as behavior resource teachers. We call them different titles, but that is an important piece of an extension of our program to be able to go out and either see the students in these settings and or to have conversations with the adaptive curriculum team or the applied behavior analysis or the ABA program staff, because those are your first lines of support into these school-based programs. So all programs have access to those folks. They just need to know kind of the chain of command and who to reach out to. And our behavior resource teachers can consult with them through the staffing process and through some of the discussions. So the quicker we can do that and have some things perhaps put into place, it definitely helps either the child maybe make some adaptations in the staff or the child makes some adaptations. And last year, one of the cases that we supported, the student's behavior was improved by 43%. With just some consultation and some things put into place. That was another layer with along with the ABA team. But it was almost like, oh, the ABA team said that, but then now we're going to do it because we heard you too. My supposition, I don't know specifically what may have happened there, but it was at least two folks were saying common things. Let's go in there and get that done, and great to see the improvement in the student. And at that rate, that makes us all happy. I don't know if there's another part you want to touch on.
I heard, Harry, that you asked about burnout.
Yes.
I'll just share my perspective that I shared with my staff on Tuesday in the staffing. This is one perspective to address burnout. It's kind of like my dream, right? The people that work in our buildings are just constant. They are amazing human beings who do human work that serve our children, right? And so what the feedback that I got from them is we need to stack good days. What do I mean by stacking good days? So if you think, so the principle is we have to try to look at the big picture, right? If you think of a whole school year, right? Stacking good days means that myself and Haley, we better set up our buildings staffing wise so that there's an equal division of labor day in and day out. To be more specific, if we fail in that area, and we start pooling staff to support other classrooms. And as Ann mentioned, every classroom usually has a teacher and 2 support staff. And if I have to pull a support staff to support another classroom that's absent, when those days stack up, that team is going to get tired. So that's stacking bad days. So stacking good days is having the staff and the resources because they want to do the work to make sure that our buildings are fully staffed, because they love to work in collaboration and they step up when things get hard. And they stack good days because they feel supported. But when I start pulling, 11 absences, and I start pulling and we're just managing day in, day out, the culture is, it can go downhill pretty fast. So that stacking good days helps with the burnout, just a perspective.
And we like to add fun. We do things as easy as we can, but make things light. And I had a little giveaway today through a PA announcement situation. We try to reflect on our time and the commitment of each staff, and we hold meetings that are pretty concise in time. We don't do extended community builders and things like that, but we have fun together, but we also work hard and try to give them the gift of time to move on, give them time to plan in the afternoon and be focused on things. And if we can do things by email, certainly focus on that as well.
Randy?
Yeah, Natasha, could you run one of the microphones to our participants who want to ask questions? Yeah, you can come on the inside. I think there are.
Hi, first of all, thank you all, Randy Cosentino, thank you all for the hard work that you do. And I apologize if you said it and I might have missed it, but what is the capacity cumulatively of the public day schools? And do you ever have a situation where you have to turn a child away that might benefit from that sort of environment because there isn't enough capacity?
Very good question. Just like other schools that have an issue where a student would move into a neighborhood school, you need to start that student as quickly as possible. And capacity wise, I think you're speaking for both the center focused students as well, or the behavior program.
Either and both, yeah.
There really isn't a capacity. When we are at a higher class limit, like we get to the threshold of more than 8 students in a center focused class, we would be able to open a class similar to other school programs. And what's nice about our program this year, and I'll let Long kind of address this too, we have a few empty rooms that we're using for behavioral focused responses and supports. And that would hurt if we needed to use those for expanding. But as the need exists, we're going to have to expand with that. So good question, and we would have to keep growing to accommodate. What's great is we do have support from special ed to try and give us as many staff members as they could extend to us, but support those situations.
And I think that's one of our limitations is that our staffing is determined before the school year starts. Where we get staffing, we get new students all year. So we do get to a point where looking at our behavior transition program right now, we have some students, our students, one student doesn't equal one student for us, right? One could equal 4 staff. So we do have issues with subs. We send all calls out all the time to try to get substitutes. And while we may have the empty classrooms, we don't have, once the school year gets going, November, December, January, if more and more student comes, how are you going to find a teacher at that point? So that is definitely a concern.
Sana, you had a question?
Yeah.
It's your last night. We're going to get you the steps you have here for this. Sorry, Tashi.
Hi, thank you for coming tonight. My question is, are your centers ready for exclusion ban? Are your centers ready to take the door off from the exclusion rooms?
So we have been ready.
We actually acted on that last year before it was actually put into place for our centers. We stopped doing restraint and seclusion. I will say, UCARU was a huge addition to our staff. While we still do have students that are injuring staff, UCARU definitely helped prevent some of that. So we are already not restraining and secluding.
Thank you for making us happy.
Ali Baldessari, you have a question online.
Yes, thank you. And it is so late, and I thank our guests for coming so much. And so I feel so badly, and I don't want to take up much time. If that is okay, I am the recording secretary, so I will collect some questions and make sure we don't have overlap and make them as concise as possible. And would that be okay if I coordinate with you to get some additional questions for both schools? And maybe I could ask a quick one of my own now.
Sure.
Or maybe I will. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. You know what? I think due to the late hour, I will just save all questions I have, then I'll send them on to you later. But I thank you so much for coming.
Amanda Campbell is next, and then Daniel's after.
Hi, thank you all for being here tonight. And thank you also for the tours. Last year I attended with Laura Jane Westcombe last year. It was a pleasure to meet you all then. You spoke of the high population that you have, especially compared to our typical elementary schools and schools in general, of the non-speaking population and the high AACs. Can you speak to the training that your staff received to not just implement the device operationally, but to integrate it with the curriculum and ensure that students are getting that full access?
Communication for our students is the focus of the work for the next 3 years at Kilmer Center School. We have created a communications committee that includes even our office assistants. And we want every adult in that building to be able to, so everyone talks about the why. To serve our students, you really need to know the how. Because these low-tech and high-tech devices can be so complicated. And even the language to use and to effectively use and communicate and teach a child requires training and practice. And so the work is to integrate that in all areas of school setting, from lunchtime to leisure time to all the therapies to all the specials. It's a skill that I think is a high leverage skill that will benefit a 5-year-old to a 22-year-old. It's a big ask, but I think it's well worth it to work on their communication skills. And it's collaboration with ACS, speech and language. It's a collective effort to make progress with this important portion of a graduate skill of communication. Did that answer your question a little bit?
It did. I think it might be helpful to explore that as the year goes on. And I know last year I was very excited to see what you were doing at Kilmer Center specifically, and just what was happening at Key. And we've got students who use AAC across the county, who it's another language, right? So thank you for that.
Daniel.
I'm actually loud enough.
Yes, you are.
Given the highly specialized work that you do and the intense work that you do, it's safe to say you have a very unique experience in Fairfax County in general. What do you feel are the biggest misconceptions about both the students that you serve and the work that you do?
I looked at the clock because I'm not sure we have enough time. But we'll
I'm
take a
going to
stab.
advocate for our support staff. I have 12 classrooms with 12 special ed teachers. I have 30 amazing support staff who serve those students. They're teachers too, and I call them teachers because they have to go through seizure training, CPS training, all the trainings, take data, understand seizure protocols, all of them, just like our teachers have to. In fact, more so because they're in front of the students serving them. And our two support staff, they're called PHAs and PHTAs. They're antiquated and their pay is really criminal. And so I would like to advocate for them at this time because they are invaluable, more valuable. They do all the heavy lifting day in, day out. They do all the heavy lifting day in, day out. They're in front of the students 7 hours a day. I get to go back and go to meetings and activities, which is work also, but they're in front of our children day in, day out, 7 days a week. And so we're using antiquated language of their skill set, and it's not great.
I think another thing we hear when we're sitting at referral meetings is that Key and Kilmer staff are specially trained. They receive more training, they get more training, and that's absolutely not true. We are offered the same training that every Cat B teacher in the county is offered. What makes us so amazing is that we have people who want to work at our school. Now, what that shelf life is, we don't know, but they are in it. They are in it to win it, and they work hard every single day. What makes us great, another thing that makes us great is the collaboration piece. So at any time there are people collaborating, working together, I liken it to a sorority house. I mean, we're all in there, we're all doing the same thing, and we're all supporting each other. So I think the specialized training, they receive more training, they have more resources. While we do have more resources on site, but the training piece is definitely a misnomer.
And I just want to add, I'm not sure to get hit upon, but we too, at least Key Center, and from what I've heard, and what I've witnessed to a minor degree at Kilmer Center, we too are a thriving learning environment. We have some of the toughest kids that are learning how to express themselves through the low tech and the high tech techniques that we are well versed in. And if I were going to answer Ms. Campbell's question, it's chicken or the egg. Is it the adapted curriculum materials, the instructional materials, or is it the bridge to the expressive language and the supportive language for the expressive piece? They go hand in hand. You've got to do it all, and you've got to offer a lot of wait time. We've got brilliant people in our staff with the biggest hearts you can imagine, but I want to emphasize, we too are a thriving learning community, just like many Cat B programs likely are. I just haven't seen them all, seen a lot. But we too thrive, and our students will thrive when you give them the time and really the patience and the wait time. But their education is worth it, and it's been just a joy to see our staff support the students and to see the smile and the learning and the ability to see our students say, I can do this. And this is different for each one. We target whatever we need to in each individual student, but they're accessing the adaptive curriculum. They're making strides in that area. But the biggest joy is to see them express themselves and to tell us when they don't like something, but to certainly tell us what they like and to engage in activity and be thriving. So thank you for that question.
Any last
I just
question?
want to have
Go
to add
ahead,
one
go
more
ahead.
because you mentioned the students. I want to end since I have this platform. We have the best students in FCPS. And misconception, I'm sure it doesn't include the people in this room, but I'll just say that when parents that are touring our schools and they see our students in wheelchairs hooked up with G tubes and J tubes or a ventilator through their trach, or a student who's having just real challenging behaviors, what they don't see is that these kiddos crack us up every single day. That when you get to know them, they laugh. When you make funny faces, or when they may not respond, but they respond with their facial expressions and their eyes and their movements. And again, I'm not sure these are misconceptions in this room, but I'll just say that they are the best students in FCPS, and that everything that we do, blood, sweat, and tears, is well worth it. So thank you for asking about the children.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We have a very specific charge to the 5-day sites. We're going to be working very closely with both of your institutions, and we're very much looking forward to that this year. Try to help out as best we possibly can on all these areas as we start making recommendations Please don't be a stranger. You're welcome here anytime. We will be hearing it in the coming weeks or coming months from Burke, Cedar Lane, and from Quander Road, as we try to continue to get a better understanding of the needs that our day sites have, and this we can best help to that end. So
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
thank you very much for coming and joining us tonight. Okay. Alrighty, the next item on our agenda is old and new business. We had subcommittee meetings earlier tonight, and I wanted to see if we could go and introduce our subcommittee chairs for each of the 4 subcommittees. We'll start with family engagement and outreach. Holly Stearns. Holly Stearns is our chair for co-chair. And the other member is, was it Liz?
It's me.
Oh, okay. And you are, I'm sorry, I didn't see who said
Sorry,
that.
that's okay. Nita Payton.
Thank you very much. School board charge. I know we had some technical difficulties with school board charge. Did you select a chair, or are you going to wait till next month?
We have to wait till next month, Harry.
Fair enough.
We'll get that done over email. We'll let you know. I mean, we'll start discussions over.
Terrific. Policy and regulations. Yeah. Wonderful, congratulations. And then student achievement and outcomes. Stephanie? Stephanie and Rachel, thank you so much. These individuals are stepping up into these leadership roles. We at the executive committee, and I know I join all of us here in this committee in thanking you for taking a role in this and to help us to address some of these issues that we have. And we look forward to working with you as the year goes along. We do have a couple of referral items that need to be made. We are expecting the legislative agenda. Each year we do make comments on the legislative agenda and make recommendations. Last year we were asked by the school board to comment on the legislative agenda for the coming year. That has been referred to the policy and regulations subcommittee for consideration. Another area that we have that, and by the way, if the folks at policy and reg or whomever has a referral that is made to them, if you have a question or you have an issue, or you need a staff member from SCPS to help with some additional information, let myself know or any executive committee member know, and we can coordinate that with Mike to make sure that you have that assistance as necessary. Some of you may know with the special education conference every year, this committee hands out what we call their first class awards. We have been looking at how we can adjust these awards to be more reflective of the different populations that we have within Fairfax County, particularly of educators, students, also our day sites and staff and the like that come with it. I know we ran into some of these issues last year on the executive committee, and we're trying to make sure that we have a little more reflective nature to it. We also need to make a determination of how we're going to judge winners for these particular efforts. And so we are referring to the family engagement subcommittee, the first class awards matter. And so with family engagement, someone can at some point here in the coming weeks, just come and see myself or any other member of the executive committee. Will be happy to consider that. Any other new business?
I'm sorry, Harry, can I add, referring to the Family Engagement Committee, if we could also add that I am looking for someone, it has to be from the Family Engagement Committee based on our social media policy. I'm the only administrator of the ACSD Facebook page, and we would like to get a member of the Family Engagement Committee to be an administrator with me on the Facebook page.
We would welcome anyone who has some social media experience to assist us on this particular front. We would, and we'd love it to be someone as part of the family engagement committee. And again, just let Ally or myself know, and we'll be happy to connect you to the right location. Sandy Dunoff. Sandy?
Hello. Yes, sorry, I found the mute button. I just wanted to share, and I hope this is the right time to do this, that with therapeutic recreation, we currently do have some fall programs open and registration. There's still some slots available for our Saturday program for elementary age students. And we also have the new Sully Community Center just opened, and the Lorton Community Center will be grand openings this weekend. And both of those do have sensory spaces in them, which we're very excited about. So there will be a recreation therapist there leading those rooms, trying to engage the community, and as well as support inclusion within the community centers. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Liz Zielinski, as she mentioned earlier, it was a bit under the weather, and so she has stepped off, and so I will be handling member time on this. So we'll go ahead and proceed into member time. I see Ally, you're on, you had your hand up.
Yes, and there was something under old business and new business. I think, did we get any
Sorry.
signups for the dyslexia open house moving on to life in the community? I need to address, we get to have a table there, which helps to promote the ACSD, because the people who come to the dyslexia open house and moving on to life in the community events hosted through various departments in DSS are usually exclusively special ed parents. And so the ACSD having a table there helps people to become familiar with the ACSD. And so perhaps we could just send an email out after this if we didn't get to have a sign up yet, but we do need to get volunteers to man our table.
Sounds good. We will make sure that gets done. Member time discussion. This is an opportunity for members to bring up any issues or events that they wish to identify. Amanda Campbell.
Thank you, Harry. I wanted to just draw the committee's attention to the fact that the SCPS staff response to the ACSD 2020-2021 report was posted to board docs in April of 2022. It is available. I don't know if it has been, to my knowledge, last year it was not brought to the committee, brought to the committee's attention, but it was available. And one of the things that we discussed in policy and regs earlier was, ensuring that we follow up on the report, which has been important to follow up on the staff response that we get from that report. So if there could be a plan for that moving forward, not just for that report, but hopefully in terms of a response for last year's report, which will hopefully come out before April.
That's our hope.
Yeah. And is there any kind of update on when that report's going to go to the school board?
Yes, there is. As a matter of fact, that is October
18th, next
19th,
week, 18th.
18th.
Yep.
Well, it's good that I won't be there on the 19th. So October 18th, we'll be presenting to the school board for last year's report. Normally this gets done in the late spring timeframe, so we're a little behind, as you might imagine, in this particular effort. So you will get to see me up there making the presentation of last year's report. It's at 3 o'clock, am I correct?
3 to 4, yes.
3 to 4
Yep.
is our presentation time at the school board. So feel free to tune in, or if you wish to come in person, I suppose you can do that as well. But we will be there making our presentation to the committee off of last year's, to the school board off last year's report.
Location.
It's at
Gatehouse.
Gatehouse,
Yep,
yeah.
room 1600, the
Yeah.
school board workroom. Yep.
Anything else under member time? Seeing none.
Oh, I'm sorry, Harry, I
sorry.
have something.
Yes.
Sorry, this is on behalf of SEPTA. Being the representative for SEPTA, I just wanted a reminder on SEPTA funds mini grants, and I'll just refer you to fairfaxcountysepta.org for details. But if our Key and Kilmer Center principals are still there. Tell all your staff that they can get free money by just applying to SEPTA for things for their classrooms, or even administrators. Anyway, more information on fairfaxcountysepta.org. SEPTA is hosting a casual family meetup this Saturday. So this weekend, Saturday, on the Laurel Ridge Elementary School playground, because it is a fully accessible playground from 1 to 3 p.m. On Tuesday, November 15th is our next general membership meeting with a guest speaker on bullying.
Terrific. Apologize, we ran a little bit long tonight, but we'll try to keep on time for next month on this front. The next meeting that we have is on November the 9th. And again, the executive committee will be meeting on Wednesday of next week. If you have anything you wish to add to the agenda for next month, please feel free to bring them to the executive committee's attention. And without anything further, that objection, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Night, everyone.
Good night.